everyone, and welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to be making cabbage soup. I know it's almost Memorial Day and I'm thinking about soup, let alone cabbage. But if you're like me, you've been stuck in the house going on 9 weeks now? And I work from home. My husband was working from home for a while. He actually is in the auto industry, so he started back a week ago. But my kids are home and they are working on their schoolwork. I'm sitting right at this kitchen island doing my work from my laptop, and it's a struggle not to reach right into that little pantry door and get something convenient to eat. And that's not something we need to be doing. You know, at first it felt like a vacation. Hey, let's enjoy this. Let's have some snacks. Ooh, nachos sound good. Ooh, chips and dip sound really good. I was finding myself ordering cookies off of my Instacart, and then reality kicked in when I stepped on the scale. It was only 5 pounds, but now's the time to stop it, to go in reverse. So I have this cabbage sitting in the fridge. I don't know if you're like me, but a lot of times I'll have vegetables that I find stress me out. You know, like if I have a cauliflower that I know I need to cut up, and it's sitting there and it's sitting there, and I'm going, it's gonna turn black, it's gonna get moldy, it's gonna be time to start cutting that up and using it or throwing it away. Which, if this quarantine has taught me one thing, it's not to waste food. I remember as a kid hearing about people that grew up in the Great Depression, you know, grandparents and uncles and stuff, and how they learned to not waste anything. And I was always a waster. My husband, if he was here right now, would tell you, oh yeah, she's a waster. But I'm totally changed. I've changed that as much as I possibly can, all things considered. Not to bore you to tears, but a little bit of background on me is I do eat plant-based. I would say 85% of the time. If I'm at a birthday party and there's cake, I love cake, and cake is made with eggs and milk. I will have a piece of cake if I want to. So I'm definitely not a strict vegan. I'm not a vegan at all. I might eat 85% vegan, but I don't know what you would call me, because if I'm out to dinner, I will order seafood. I don't typically cook it at home. Once in a while I'll cook shrimp, but for the most part, it's all veggies and carbohydrates. Some good and some bad. So I want to get back into plant-based where I'm eating a ton of plants. So today it's cabbage soup. Also, if you're around my age, I am 48 years old. You remember in the 70s, pigs in the blanket. Who doesn't remember that? It was a good day around my house when my mom made pigs in the blanket. They were delicious. You'd eat them with buttered bread, dip it in the sauce. Fantastic. That is not fantastic anymore because A, I don't eat ground beef, and B, those are a lot of work. So even before I went plant-based, which was around 2.5 years ago, I was eating a cabbage soup, which was like almost a lazy version of the pigs in the blanket or stuffed cabbage rolls. So let's get started. Enough about me. I'm gonna bring you over here and we are going to chop the vegetables together. So hopefully you get my angle here. I am using an iPhone. If you want to see more videos, I will invest in a better setup. But for right now, this is what we're gonna do. So if you've ever chopped a cabbage, you know that the middle core can be very hard. So I am just gonna do my best to chop this guy on video, which isn't easy. I recommend one of these, by the way. That is a chef's knife, and it's a Japanese one made by Global. It's an 18-inch stainless steel Cremova. This has been fantastic, and it saves me a lot of time. So just chopping into this. See that hard core there? That's what you kind of want to stay away from. Try not to waste any of it. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to steal a tip from Food Network, Rachel Ray. What does she always have? A garbage bowl. Set one up on the counter to catch all my ends. So yeah, I've been plant-based for about 2.5 years, and I don't find it difficult to feed my family. I have a 13-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old daughter. And you know, kids are not easy to please when it comes to food. They like mac and cheese, they like the chicken nuggets, and it was a struggle initially. I don't know if any of you watching have ever tried to convert to plant-based or vegan and eliminated meat, but when you first start, a lot of people tend to use what I call the fake meats. You know, the veggie burgers and so forth. I have it down to only using, serving chicken nuggets, which are sold at our favorite grocery store locally. I feel like everyone in the country has at this point heard of Wegmans. You know, they're in New York City, they're in Pittsburgh, they are, I believe there's one in North Carolina now, and they originated in Rochester, which is only about an hour from where I live, and they're my favorite store. So anyway, they have their own brand of food, and they make it's called Don't Be a Chicken Nuggets. So those are the closest thing to a chicken nugget, like a fast food chicken nugget. Not that I'm a chicken nugget person, but it does help the children get through that initial phase of not consuming meat. And whatever it takes, right? I'd rather them eat that than what's going on right now in the slaughterhouses and this, I don't know, these open air animal markets. I really don't want anything to do with any of that. I haven't for a while. I'm sure most of you have heard of the movie What the Health. Well, my husband and I watched that, and you know, and it's different. If you talk to anyone who goes plant-based, that everyone does it for different reasons. Some where it was suggested by a medical professional, and for some it's triggered by a movie, and for us that was it. And then I read the book, I believe by Michael Greger. Now I better check before I start. I'll put in the description box below, but I read a book called How Not to Die, and it talks about eating healthy and what you can do to make small dietary changes, or you know, what you can make sure you get all the time. And it even goes over each part of the body. For example, if you have a thyroid condition, what you might want to stay away from, or you know, different autoimmune diseases and suggestions on what to eat, better protein sources, what each plant does for you that you eat. So it's very interesting and something I would recommend. Okay, next up is the onion. I see so many videos. I watch a ton of YouTube, which is why I'm here today. And I also see a ton of people struggling to cut an onion. So let's go through this. This has all of its ugly layers, okay? All I do with my great knife is go right down the center, cut it in half. I don't peel, I haven't peeled anything yet. And then cut it in a quarter. Once I'm there, this is a huge onion, I peel whatever skin, I went a little crazy on that, off, and it's done. The onion is peeled. If I need to use this one, which I probably will, it's also peeled. It's very simple. I feel sad for people when they have an entire onion and they're peeling it and it's falling all over the place, when really it's that simple. Cut it first. Okay. So I'm gonna chop this onion. I am by no means a professional, but this has always worked for me. I just heard the other day that if you rinse it in cold water, I have heard about freezing it, but I guess rinsing it in cold water can take away the sting. once in a while it bothers me really badly. I'll catch myself tearing up horribly, and then I try and breathe through my mouth. But so far, I do feel my left eye watering a little bit. I can't even lie. So let's get through this quickly and move on to the other veggies. I always wonder too, is it a stronger onion that makes that happen? I wonder. I love onions, so I'm going a little nuts with it. Okay, one more and we're good. I'm gonna set this aside on a napkin far, far away from my eyes. It was starting to bother me. Okay, so there's my chopped onion. So far we've chopped our onion and chopped our spinach. Now, this is a carrot I've pre-prepared. I peeled it and cut the ends off, washed it obviously. This is a great carrot. I got this at a local market, which, you know, it's hit or miss lately with produce, but I was excited to have that one. Now I could have cut it into coins, but it's so thick and I don't want to delay the cooking of everything, so I'm just going to chop it, dice it in small pieces to add into our soup. So strips. I should probably make it so you could see better. Sorry about that. This is my first video in a while. I did have another channel. I decided to start new, and this is my debut video, so welcome everyone. It's been about 3 years since I've done a video. I used to do cooking and I did a hair video. I vlogged, you know, day trips or places that I went to. And since we're home, I figured I'd start that back up again. So what is mirepoix? It is a French word for onions, celery, and carrots. And here's the celery. This, I suppose, should be the base of every soup. I use this small cutting board so that you can see all the veggies show up. So it's going to be the base of my soup today. Keep in mind, this is interesting because I don't consider myself a fantastic cook, but I try. I really do. I enjoy it, and I think that's half the battle. But I'm also not one to follow a recipe. Is that awful? So what I'm doing today is winging it, right live for you on video. I did get out some ingredients and spices that I thought I might want to use. That could change as we go along. But this is what I have. So this is the mirepoix. I was going to add this, but it's looking to me like this might be enough. We've got the cut cabbage, the carrots, celery, and onion. Cut cabbage, carrot, celery, and onion. I have another treat to show you, and that is TVP. So you might be going, what in the hell is that? This is what it looks like up close. Kind of crunchy, almost looks like breadcrumbs. And if you look at the ingredients, there's one ingredient. It's defatted soy flour. So basically what this is a protein source, and it will take on any flavor that you're cooking with, and it to me acts as ground beef. So remember the 70s now, you're eating your pigs in the blanket. The star of the show was that yummy ground beef in the middle. So I don't have ground beef because we don't eat beef, so we're going to use the TVP. Calorie wise, you can have a 1/4 cup of this for 90 calories. But even better than the calories is the protein. 13 grams of protein in a 1/4 cup. Today we're going to use a 1 cup measurement. Move this aside. And I'm going to show you how you use TVP. Any recipe that you have, that calls for ground beef, you can sub with TVP. So that's 1 cup. I'm going to use 1 cup for this entire recipe because I think that should be enough given all the other ingredients. And I'm just going to hook this up. Keep it nice and closed so it doesn't spill. These, I love these clips. They're from IKEA. I'm certain you can find them on Amazon. I mean, what doesn't live on Amazon? But they're really great. Instead of a chip clip, because sometimes those are not tight enough. Love them. Okay. So what you do is, and I totally forgot to boil some water. I'm gonna fill my tea kettle really quickly. And when I say fill, I'm only gonna fill it a little bit. What I need to do is reconstitute the TVP. So this is it. It's a dried powder. Like I said, it's almost like a breadcrumbs. I would say more like a panko. I am going to reconstitute it with some boiling water. So I just did a cup. Usually you then put a cup and maybe a tablespoon or so of boiling water over it. Let it sit. It actually grows. So it doesn't look like much, but it's gonna puff up and grow. Okay? So that is our next move. What else did I want to tell you about? So we've got the cut up veggies, everything that we're going to be adding. I did forget garlic. Now, I have a confession to make. I was always a real garlic from a bulb user. So we're home in quarantine and I had to order from Instacart, and I don't know if any of you have been doing that, but it's not been an easy process. Especially in the beginning, they were out of a lot of things. So they were out of garlic. Well, I actually ordered from Walmart Grocery, and they will substitute without asking you if you approve. In some cases, you get a better substitute. Not always, but in some cases. So they substituted the garlic in a jar, and I always thought, are you really a good cook if you're using garlic in a jar? Like, I don't know. I felt like it was a cheat, and you know, you weren't authentic. It's so easy. I love it. And I bought another jar, so I'll be right back. I suppose you heard that door open. It needs a little WD-40. This is Wegmans brand chopped garlic and olive oil. So that's what we're going to use today. And it is honestly such a lifesaver. Time saver, and for me, I hate getting garlic on my hands, so it saves me that sticky garlic on my hands. Okay, our water is almost boiled. It doesn't have to be scorching hot. I'm going to use this. FYI, I'm well aware that this is for dry ingredients, but it's just easier and it's close enough. If I were baking, fine, but so I'm just going to maybe a little extra. Reconstituting the TVP. So let's take a look. I'm just gonna mix that hot water around. It smells, it literally smells like cornflakes to me. Defatted soy flour is all it is. There's no salt, there's nothing. If you were to taste it right now, no flavor whatsoever. So stirred in the hot water, and I'm just gonna let that sit. You can almost see that it's already taking on a ground beef texture. Put that to the side. Next, what I'm gonna do now is saute my veggies, and I will come back and show you that process. So I am heating up some olive oil in my stock pot right now. The first thing I wanna do is I want to get all of this flavor going in the pan. But I always start, and I don't know if I need to, with my garlic. And I wish you could smell it right now because it smells really good. So there's just a little bit of olive oil at the bottom of the pan, and I put about 2 teaspoons of the chopped garlic in the bottom. Something I don't have, which you'll find interesting, is a wooden spoon. I don't like the feeling of wood in my hands. or near my mouth. When I was younger, I could barely eat a popsicle because of holding onto the wooden spoon. So, just letting that garlic flavor get out, I'm now going to add my onions. I always start with the garlic and the onion. I feel like that is the base of all your flavors. I won't put it all in there, it's okay. The other thing I like to do, I'll show you in the pot in a sec, is add crushed red pepper. I like a little kick in my food. This is optional. I'm going to add the rest of the onion as much as I can. I kind of crowded my cutting board. Kick that heat up a bit. Both my girls are in the basement. I've relegated them to the basement while I make this because you know how they are. But it's quite alright if they come in and disrupt because this is their house too. That smells delicious. I don't care who you are. If you fry onions and garlic in olive oil, it smells delicious. So let that get sort of translucent. I'm going to season it with salt and pepper. I'll continue to season it. I like to season things in layers as I cook. I don't know, and keep testing it. I don't like to add one bout of seasoning right at the end. To me, it tastes like that. That is what you did. This is oregano. This is another Walmart shopper find for me. Put about a teaspoon of oregano in there. I just think it goes well with anything tomatoey, and tomatoes are part of this. Give that a stir. Now, so far we've got olive oil, garlic, onions, crushed red pepper, salt and pepper, and some oregano. And it already smells like it's going to be fantastic. Take a look. That's me. Hold on. Okay. I don't think you can see it, but I'll make sure you can in a second. This is where I need my daughter. She, on my previous videos, would come in and do my photography. I'm the cook, and she needs to be the photographer. So I'll come back so you can see inside my pot. Okay, so just stirring up the celery, carrots, onion, garlic, and seasoning. Gonna give them a nice stir and cook them down a bit. You know, you could just pour broth in here, but to me, you're gonna lose your flavor that way. I prefer to render down the veggies a little bit. Let all their flavors come out before I just start boiling them. You know, if you've ever sauteed veggies and tasted them, they taste more vibrant than if you had boiled them in water. And the same goes for your veggies in a soup, in my opinion, you know. Okay, so I've got so much cabbage to add to this, it's kind of scary. So I might just do half of it. It will cook down, but not that much. So let's see what we can do. Can't topple over the pot. Does anyone remember? Let me know in the comments below if anyone remembers. That piece looks a little chunky to me. The old Weight Watchers cabbage soup. I know exactly what everyone's thinking. It was high in fiber and hard on the digestive tract, to put it lightly. Hopefully that's not going to be the same thing with this, but I'll be honest with you, anyone who follows a plant-based diet knows to have a digestive enzyme on hand, aka BINO. it does go a little easier on the stomach. But to be honest, the other part of this is your body actually gets used to all the fiber when you eat like this a lot. So there's also that. I'm just trying to mix this up, make sure all the seasoning and oil is distributed through here. My aromatics, my oregano, my garlic, onion, mixed in with the cabbage. Okay, and I'm going to continue to season because that is a lot of cabbage. Next, I'm going to add my 14.5-ounce can of diced tomatoes with the juices. If you remember, think about your stuffed cabbage rolls. There was tomatoes or a tomato sauce involved. So there is that. This will all cook down, but this is what it's going to look like for now. And here is where I'm going to add my vegetable stock. Now I have found that vegetable stock is not as, I can't even lie, flavorful as like a chicken broth. So you do tend to have to season it a little bit more. But just pay attention to that and taste it as you go. I don't know how people cook, without tasting. That I haven't figured out. But there are people who do that. So I'm adding, this is 1 box, which I believe is 4 cups typically. Yeah, 4 cups of vegetable stock. And I'll probably add at least half of another one of these, because while this will make its own juices, I'm also going to be adding rice. So I actually, in that case, I'll probably just use the whole thing. Let me remind you, this is a make it up as you go recipe. And that's exactly what I'm doing. Alright, so I'm going to let that cook down. I'm going to add 1 cup of plain white rice. Stir that in. I'm going to put a lid on it. Bring it to a boil, and I'll be back. Okay, we're back. This has been boiling for about 30 minutes, and there are a few things I wanted to update you on. Something I added to it was an entire can of tomato sauce. Now you could do 2 cans of the diced tomatoes that I showed you earlier. I didn't want a ton of chunks of tomatoes, so I just added another can of tomato sauce. In addition to that, I splashed in, I want to say 2 to 3 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, just because I've seen it done where there's cabbage concerned. Again, this is experimental. I'm using all the stuff I have at home for this vegan cabbage soup, and I don't have a recipe. So this is thickened up. I'm going to show it to you in a minute. In the meantime, I also want to let you know what I did to my TVP. To season it, as I said, it has no flavor. It takes on the flavor of other things. What I did was add a little low sodium soy sauce to it. It seasons it perfectly and goes really well together. This you're going to want to add at the very end, and I am at the very end, so I'm adding it now. The reason being, you don't want to boil this until it disintegrates. Same thing goes with ground beef, really. I usually would brown it, pull it out, and then add it back in at the end. So we're doing that now. As I mentioned, the cabbage soup has been boiling for about 30 minutes. The rice has puffed up, the soup itself has thickened up, and let's take a look. You can see that it has gotten thick. I'm just going to stir in that TVP, which is like your ground beef, and we'll see how it comes out. My daughter is really excited. She's helping me today, and she is Snapchatting me while I'm vlogging. Cabbage soup, and I don't have a recipe. Not my favorite thing, but you know, how much control do I really have over someone who's about to be 14? And I can't believe it. 14. I'm 14. What? Kidding. Don't we all feel that way? I remember when I was younger, my mother telling me, "You feel like you're 21 forever, Liz, even when you're in your 50s." And I'm like, yeah, I don't think so, but guess what? She was right. Aren't moms always right? Okay, this is all done. I am going to be back with some in a bowl, and we're gonna try it, and I hope you enjoy as well, and I'll be back. Okay, and I've got this little ramekin here filled with some of the soup. You can see it looks quite tasty. I topped it with a little crushed red pepper and, to keep it vegan, some nutritional yeast. For those of you who don't know about what that tastes like, it's sort of like adding a Parmesan or a Pecorino Romano cheese. My daughter's over here shaking her head, but if you're limiting your dairy or animal products, I think it's a good alternative. It's loaded in B vitamins, which is something you need when you're not eating animal products. So I'm gonna go in for a taste without hopefully burning my tongue. You can see the steam rising, or maybe you can't, but trust me, it is. Wow, that is really good. It has a hearty, almost stew-like texture to it. The cabbage is fantastic. I like the acidity from the tomatoes and possibly the vinegar. It's almost a little bit sweet from the vinegar as well. Apple cider vinegar can be very sweet. The TVP has the texture there for you, like ground beef, and I think it's wonderful. I'm gonna have another bite. Delicious. If you'd like more recipes or like more lifestyle tips, come back and join me for my next video. I promise you I'll have the iPhone turned the other way and better lighting and more variety. I hope you enjoy, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you soon.